Coming off that new moon in Virgo, my friend, we are fully into Virgo season. We have all of the things to talk about in this week's Sidereal astrology forecast for the week of September 22nd through the 28th. My friend, welcome back to the Cosmic Mystic, where we blend strategy and soul work to help healers, coaches, and conscious leaders build soul-aligned lives and businesses that fully support their mission, fully support who they are. I am Danny C. Muniz, the creator of the Inner Alchemy Method. I was going to say Inner Work Alchemy, but it is Inner Alchemy Method, which is a 5-stage journey to soul-led sovereignty. This is where the deep healing meets embodied leadership. So I love to guide high achieving, introverted spiritual women reclaim their power, embody their truth, and lead from within. My friend, for over 12 years, I have had the honor and pleasure of supporting hundreds of conscious leaders in doing the deep soul work, the work that is required to embody your highest expression and lead with confidence. My friend, each video here on the channel, on the podcast, is here to help you navigate the inner world and how that reflects in your outer world so that you can align with your natural sacred rhythm and step boldly into your purpose. So my friend, let's dive in to the current state of the planets, where everybody is as we kick off this week in Sidereal astrology. Now, first off, I want to say before we start diving into this and I share my screen, there is 2 ways that you can get this forecast. Number 1, you can get this forecast through the podcast, and the podcast is the Cosmic Mystic Podcast, where you can listen to all of the content that I'm about to share with you. You'll be able to hear everything about the forecast. You can take me with you wherever it is that you're going, whatever it is that you're doing, or you can watch this on the YouTube channel. Same name, the Cosmic Mystic. You can see the charts, you can see me, and we can walk through this together. Now, each one of those platforms also has additional information and things that you can explore. I've had the YouTube channel for a while, so there are old hypnosis recordings that are still my highest videos on this channel. Some mindset teachings in there. We've also got our somatic breath work that we do on Wednesdays with our Rise and Align series here on YouTube. On the podcast, we've got the audio of all of that, plus just the content piece of the Rise and Align videos, no breath work there, but we also have interviews with other soul-led business owners. So my friend, if you are in the world of spirituality, personal development, becoming the best version of you, and are leading, right, a mission, a purpose through a business of some sort, you might call yourself a healer, coach, conscious leader, spiritual entrepreneur, then this is the place for you, my friend, because we love to mix the strategy, the practical, and the woo, right? So we're going to dive in to this week's State of the Planets. All right. This is our last video. As I was looking at our schedule, this is our last video for the September series. The next video that will come out after this one is going to be our October overview. So each month I have the overview where we talk about the bigger things that are happening this month, and then we dive into it week by week, like this forecast is here. So at the top, we're going to start this week. As I mentioned at the top of the video, we are coming off of that new moon in Virgo. So if you haven't set your intentions for this new moon, or you are still like, I don't know what my intention should be, what was that new moon about, you can definitely catch last week's Sidereal astrology forecast, and you can also download the lunar shadow work journal. I put that journal out every single month that is relevant to what is happening in our sky. So if you're wanting to really direct that energy in, which I highly, highly recommend, why work against it, right? Work with it. There's an intention setting questions in there to help you come up with your intention for this new moon. There's also some weekly journal prompts to help you explore some ideas that you can bring into consciousness. So it is definitely an opportunity for you to dive into that. So you can check that out for sure. It's absolutely free. You can find it down below in the comments. In the description. All right. So we've got the sun, Mercury, and the moon all right here, all of them in Virgo. So as we kick off this week, everybody right here is in Virgo. We've got our South Node in Leo, Venus in Leo, Jupiter over here in Gemini, Uranus in Taurus, Chiron in Aries, Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, North Node in Aquarius, Pluto over here in Capricorn, and all of these over here are retrograde, my friend. Remember, we are still in that retrograde season. We won't see these start to shift out until November, December, and even January. And then finally, we've got our Mars over here in Libra. So last week we did talk about Libra and Leo, with Venus in Leo and Mars moving into Libra. And we won't see those shift out until mid-October. Okay, let's dive in with our sun. So nothing new is coming in this week with our sun and its transit, so its connections. The one thing I would say is we are now fully into Virgo season. We still have this tension right here with the Saturn and Neptune, which I talked about last week, and that Uranus coming in and shaking things up. So these are still in play. There are a few things that are coming off later this week, but nothing new is coming in. So I did want to give you that as we kick this off with the sun. The sun is still holding that energy, as I stated, all the way through till the end of this month. Now, I did want to talk about our moon, and something I don't get to always talk about so much because there's always so many things to talk about. But I did want to talk about this because we have the space here. So let's do it. When we are coming off of a new moon, right, we are setting our intentions, and we're still in, right, as we kick off this week here, we are still in that new moon energy. We will move out of that about Tuesday of that new moon energy. It's usually a couple of days before and a couple of days after that. We're still kind of in that energy. And once it shifts out, we'll start to see it, right? We start to see it in our sky. It'll start to move into a crescent, right? Into the waxing crescent as it's coming off of the new moon, as it moves to first quarter. First quarter is when we see half light and half dark, or flip to that, we see the light on this side and the dark on this side. It just depends on the quarters happen twice, right? It happens after the new moon and then it happens after the full moon. So if we were in darkness with our new moon, we are in a waxing. So our crescent, the side would be, well, the opposite of what I'm showing you is what you're seeing on my screen. The right side would be the light and the left side would be the dark. Right? So we're coming into the light with the full moon. So a lot of that energy is that coming into the light. So that's a lot of action oriented. We're starting to take our first steps. That's what happens after the new moon. We set our intention. We do this when we're at the beginning of a new month, right? Or a new year. We set our goals, we set our intentions for the year, and then we start getting into action. That's what waxing crescent is. It's the beginning. It's the let's get things moving. When we get into first quarter, which won't be till the end of this week, beginning of next week, we are going to see that we might run into challenges. I like to think it's like we've set the direction, this is where we're going, and yet things come up, maybe things that we didn't anticipate. Maybe there's some beliefs that are stopping you. Maybe there's a self-identity or a self-concept that is getting in your way. Maybe it's the patterns or loops that you're in that is coming up. So you're like, I'm going to overcome this thing. And then you start, trying to do this, be more positive or whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden, right? I see this with myself I'm not a fan of the word exercise. However, I do love to move my body. And so it's always a challenge for me when I set an intention of moving my body, and then all the beliefs will start to come up like, I'm just going to stay in bed, or I don't have enough time this morning. I've got a huge to-do list, right? All of these thoughts and beliefs that start to come up. That's generally the challenges, the opposition comes in when we hit that first quarter. So I want you to keep that in mind, because you might kick off this week feeling really good about your intention, right? And then as you get to the end of the week or beginning of next week, you're like, yeah, but, right? So just want to give you that as a heads up as we move through this week. Now, another thing I don't always get to talk about anymore is where our moon is going to be transiting. What zodiac signs is it moving through this week? I love to use the moon as a guide in energy levels, right? So knowing that we're coming from new moon into full moon, which means our energy is going to rise. So there's going to be a sense of like more energy coming, right? So that you can see that, like if you've been like a little bit more tired or a little bit more reserved or not wanting to like fully be out there, then that was our new moon period. And if you'll see as we get to full moon, you'll be more likely to want to do things, to get out, to feel more vibrant, so to speak. Now, we kick off this week with our moon in Virgo, right? Because we're coming off of that Virgo energy from the new moon. And then even moving into Tuesday, we will still be in that Virgo energy. Actually won't leave Virgo until later in the afternoon, early evening. We'll see that shift out of Virgo and into Libra. So as we start this week, we're very much grounded, and it's also like, okay, let's get things in order so that we can get to work, which is very, very in line with this new moon energy. Now, as we move into Wednesday, Thursday, we are going to see the moon in the energy of Libra. So it's going from an earth sign to an air sign. An air sign is where there's lots of mental activity happening, lots of thinking, lots of thought, lots of let's get things going, right? Where with that mental activity, it's great for doing research. It's great for finishing quick tasks. It's like you're trying to multitask. It's trying to do all the things. And so it's a little bit harder to really focus on certain tasks or certain things like to completion. So keeping that in mind, it's like, let's do this quick little thing, right? Maybe this quick little email that I have to write, or maybe it's brainstorming ideas and not actually recording the video, right? I would do that more in a fire sign or an earth sign. The air sign is just like, let's write out the script. Let's throw some ideas out there. Let's play with it. And then we move into on Friday, we'll move out of that Libra energy and into Scorpio. Scorpio is our water sign. So Scorpio is also very deep, right? It wants to get down deep. So this is a good time, first off, to uncover what's beneath the surface. So doing some healing work is always great during a water moon, especially Scorpio. It's also a great time for creativity. So to allow that creativity to come through, to be expressed. It's also a really, really great time to do some deep research, to really get deep into something, whether that's deep into the self, right? And uncovering stuff, or deep into something that you're wanting to research or learn and really getting in. Things like the mysteries, the occult is always good to do during Scorpio. So if you're interested in the mysteries or interested in esoteric knowledge, definitely dive into it during this time. And I will also say, Our water moons, and I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. Our water moons are also great for self-care and replenishing self, taking care of self. So whether that's Saturday or Sunday, I'd highly recommend taking some time for you to replenish, to do something that really fills your cup in whatever way that is for you, because we all do this very differently, right? All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, and I only have a few things to talk about today in transits wise. I do want to talk about fall and fall equinox. Okay, so we have our Mercury energy here. So I want to talk about something that's coming in here over the weekend on Saturday. We're going to see this square over here with Jupiter. So Mercury square Jupiter. So this is very, very optimistic energy, because Jupiter is so optimistic and positive and able to really see the bigger picture, where we saw some earlier transits this month that were really helping us get into the fine details. We often can get stuck there. And so Mercury is here to kind of expand that for us. It's a really wide encompassing view, right? It's really taking it all in. So this is great for making bigger plans, right? Thinking about bigger things. So not thinking about what am I going to eat for dinner tonight. It's more of, thinking about what we're going to eat this week, right? And there's also an inability here to narrow things down, right? So it can cause a little bit of indecision or even procrastination, where we're kind of putting some things off. It's because there's so many grand and beautiful things that it's hard to focus the energy in here. So pay extra attention here to how you are expressing yourself, because one of the things that Jupiter can do here is get a little cocky. Right? Can step into being a little bit more arrogant in your speech, or you might find that people get a little cocky, right? Because Jupiter it does have a little bit of that air of cockiness with it, because it's very optimistic. It's positive. It knows all the things, right? Think Sagittarius energy, where they're like the ones that know. They're the knowers, right? They know all the things, and so you can get a little cocky here, or be over optimistic, right? Or exaggerate things, especially within the mind. So I want you to think about that, because, right, that we always work with this energy, right? We don't fight it, we work with it. So if there is a tendency here to be a little bit more optimistic or over exaggerating something, I want you to consider that for yourself. Or where you might feel really cocky in like, I know this, I got this, right? But that is always an opportunity for us there's always more for us to learn. There's always more for us to expand upon. But also noticing where our mind might be over exaggerating something. Like, what story are we telling? What story are we buying into? And are we over exaggerating that thing? So if somebody, cuts me off as I'm driving, I might expand that into everybody's getting in my way, and nothing is going in my favor, and everybody thinks they can take advantage of me, and I can start into that, or I can over exaggerate a simple, right, somebody cutting me off in this particular transit, which is also a way for me to notice that, okay, if I'm getting triggered by somebody cutting me off like that, there is something else, right? And so I can listen to my thoughts and say like, there's a theme in here. Maybe I'm feeling not in control of something. So where might that be for me? So just something for you to pay attention to as we move through this, because those things can definitely come into play here. Now, the second one I wanted to talk about with the Mercury is Chiron. So let me share my screen again and show you this one. And this one's coming in, it's going to be next week, but I wanted to show you this because we are going to be, moving into our October forecast. And so I wanted to, as we touch into that, I wanted to give you this one because it is going to be this first part of that week, the 30th through the 7th. So you see the opposition here with Mercury. Now, how do I say this? So mindset, our ideas, the things that we are wanting to move forward with are not necessarily aligned or aligning with our lessons from the past. So this could be a struggle to make sense of some of those past wounds. You know how we're trying to get, right? The key thing in any of the work that we're doing is to get to the root of where did this, what happened? Like, when did this happen? When did we make this decision? When did we choose this, right? When did we come to this conclusion about the world? And these, sometimes it's hard to make sense of that, right? Sometimes it's hard to understand it. And with this particular aspect, this transit, we can definitely see that. We can see where I can't understand how this is connected, or I can't get to why, right, this might have happened, or what this meaning or this understanding is. You know, if we look at the 4 stages of healing, the first is awareness. The second, which a lot of people skip over, is that understanding. What do I need to know about this? How to make me feel, right, okay about this, or make me come to an understanding to shift the energy around it. There's a deeper understanding that I need to know. And so with this, it could be a little bit harder. We might not be able to embrace some of those different perspectives or those unique ways of maybe even viewing the situation, because we're just stuck in whatever that might be. So there could be some negative thinking here, especially around viewpoints and others' viewpoints. So just be mindful of that, because this one can be a little bit challenging, especially if you are going to be doing some healing work, or if there are some things that are coming up and you're recognizing and you're like, I can't figure this out. Like, just let it be, let it sit. You will get that insight. It's like, patience, dear one, right? Patience, because you will come to a greater appreciation of it. You're just kind of blocking your intellect. Your intellect is just blocking it right now. All right, my friend, let's talk about our final thing in this week's forecast, which is our fall equinox. So the fall equinox is when we are at that time of the year where we are at equal, right? As I started to talk about with our first quarter and last quarter, we have the perfect balance here of light and dark, making a transition of inner reflection and harvesting, right? We think of the fall season as harvest season. And so there's a couple of different things that we can look at here. From the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, this is where the earth is balancing or mirroring the need for equilibrium in our outer world and our inner world. And so this is where we're starting to look at, how do I balance the things that are in my life? How do I externally balance and internally balance? Where do I need to create some more harmony or balance in my life? And so this is the season where we start to do some reflection, right? We're already in that retrograde season, which is a time to reevaluate, right? To be in reflection. But this is also a time for us to look at where we may not be balancing certain things. Now, before I go any further, I do want to state, I am not a big believer in that everything is always balanced. I mean, even look at this season. We have the season twice a year. We have that perfect balance of night and of light and dark twice a year. All the rest of the time, it is not equal, right? It's close, but it's not quite. And because of that idea, and because what I've seen in my own life and in my clients' lives, is we are never at that perfect balance, right? There is a rhythm that we have. And so right now, your rhythm might be for caring for a sick parent or an elderly parent, an aging parent, right? And so there's more of a priority to support them than it may be in other areas of your life. Or maybe you have young children who need more of your attention now because of where you are in your life. Or maybe it's your business. Your business is growing, you're expanding, or you're starting, and that focus is in your business right now. We all have different ways in which we are focusing on different things depending on our life and depending on the things that we choose. And so I don't believe there is necessarily a balance, but this is an opportunity for us to look at what is the rhythm. Because if you're feeling like, oh, I never have time for myself, but then you look at your priorities and you realize, oh, it's because I'm in the middle of a launch, or it's because I'm having to put extra attention and care to an elderly parent, right? To an aging parent who needs some extra support right now, or to a growing child, right? Or a growing business. So my friend, I want you to think about this from that standpoint. Now, there is also, ancient traditions that state that during this time, the veil between dimensions thins, right? And so this is such a beautiful time for us to be in divination, for us to really be in that shadow work and allowing ourselves to receive those intuitive downloads, to be able, right? We talked about this with the Virgo new moon, to mix that strategy and soul, right? To mix the spiritual and the practical together. And so this is such a really beautiful time for allowing us to access both the solar and lunar energy. So solar energy being more of that active masculine energy, and the lunar energy being more of that feminine, receptive, receiving type energy in both our life and business. So some of the things that you might consider in business right now, and even in your personal life, is looking at the different aspects of your business. So looking at your client relationships, looking at your belief systems around money and success. Those are really key during this time. Is what is, especially as we get to the end of the year, what is success? What makes this year successful for you, right? Where is that for you in particular? You can also look at maybe doing a business audit, like looking at the fears, the worthiness, the energy loops, leakages, I'm sorry, not loops, but, or loops, but the leakages that you have in your business or within yourself, right? Is there some energy leaks that you have that are filtering into your business, or vice versa? Are there leaks in your business that are filtering into your personal life? Again, looking at how you are managing your, work life and your business. I'll tell you this, last year during the fall, I realized that I had a lot of my, new moon circles and my, somatic breath works were all in the evening. And this was during fall. And so it was already starting to, be dark. I would host these around 6, 7 p.m. Central Time. And so they would go till about 8:30 at night. Now, during the summer, I didn't mind that. We still had a lot of light. I still felt very full of energy, but in the fall, that felt draining. And that became a really good awareness for me to shift the timings of when I host my gatherings. Do I host them during the day or do I host them at night? And so I made the decision based on really looking at that balance of how I am honoring my personal life and my business, and realizing that in the fall, I did not like that. I did not like it felt like a lot of pressure to me. Not that I didn't love those. I love every time I got off the call, like I was so blessed that I did it, but I was finding, I was like, like a little irritated going into it. That was great awareness for me to say, okay, don't host those things in the evenings anymore. Move them to the day. Now I host them in the middle of the day, and it feels so much better for me, right? Energetically, I feel better. And so these are things that you can look at in relation to balance and relation to, some of the things that you're doing in your life and your business and how you're managing all of that. So you might even consider in this divination and in the shadow work and in, allowing yourself to receive the downloads is looking at what wants to emerge. And maybe it doesn't want to emerge right now, because sometimes we get those, right? Those downloads, those channelings of a new offer or a new program. And maybe they are for now, but maybe they're for later. And so, but allow yourself to be open to receiving those, connecting with your purpose, your mission, your why in your business, why you're here, and looking for that deeper soul purpose, right? Beyond profit, right? I want you to be profitable, but I also want you to consider like what's beyond that, right? Because there's so much you can do when you are profitable. The downloads about maybe your ideal client is evolving. Maybe there's a new way that you're viewing it or a new need that they have that you can maybe move into this next season. And any karmic patterns affecting business relationships, whether that's your client relationships, JV collaborations, ventures, affiliates, all of that type of work, right? Are there any karmic patterns here that you can do? My friend, this is such a beautiful time. I love the fall. Fall is probably my favorite season. Fall, winter are my two favorite seasons of the year. And so I'm excited for this fall season. I wish you a beautiful fall season. And as always, my friend, if you are finding that you are wanting some extra support this fall, I'm going to put out our last reminder here in these videos about our Rise and Align experience. Our Rise and Align experience is starting today on the Fall Equinox and is going to go through the entire fall season. So my friend, 12 weeks of allowing yourself to step into the energy of who you are now, not who you're going to be someday, not who you're wishing to be, but who you are now. So my friend, the 12-week sacred embodiment container is for spiritual women who are ready to stop manifesting from the sidelines, who are finally ready to receive, to lead, to radiate from the version of themselves who is at that frequency. So there is rewiring your identity at the frequency level, not just through mindset, not just through visualizing, but regulating your nervous system, ritual, and sacred community. So inside, we've got weekly video teachings that are based on the 12 universal laws. So one tied to each energetic theme so that you can understand how to work with and really be in that sovereignty, in that power. We've got our 3 live alignment calls a week where we are anchoring our nervous system. We are resetting our energy. We've got some energetic cleansing in there, as well as intention setting to really help us return and embody that self-concept of who we are now, who we have chosen to now step into, that version of us. We've also got somatic practices, activations, breath work to help release those outdated patterns and rewiring. We also have some calls. I haven't decided on the name yet. I keep going back and forth, but they are like belief shifting calls, energy shifting calls, where we are going to work on stepping out of some of those old belief systems, which I can't wait for those. Those are going to be absolutely amazing. Plus, we've got our high frequency community of women that can be there to see you, to witness you on this journey, doing the work together over these 12 weeks. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this new version here to be out and for everybody to experience it. So my friend, if you are even the slightest curious or you're feeling pulled to check it out, definitely click the link in the description box or in the show notes below to learn more about it, to get started. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I am more than happy to answer any questions. You can still join through this week, through the 30th. So I've cut off on the 30th. That's really, we're going to start getting into more that second week. So I'm going to cut it off there, but join now, my friend. All right. And with that, we wrap up this video, this forecast. And as always, my friend, I'm so blessed and honored that you are here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have not just subscribed, be sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you feel called, please leave a comment down below. All right, my friend, enjoy the rest of your day and remember to keep shining your unique light.